On December 6, 1969, Mick Jagger stood on a stage at the Altamont Speedway in California. It was supposed to be Woodstock West, a free concert, peace and love. The Rolling Stones headlining for 300,000 people. But 4 people died that day. One of them was an 18-year-old named Meredith Hunter. He was stabbed to death by a member of the Hells Angel motorcycle gang while Mick Jagger sang Under My Thumb. It was caught on camera. The entire thing. The stabbing. The chaos. The moment a free concert turned into a crime scene. And when it was over, no one faced real consequences. The Hells Angel who killed Meredith Hunter was acquitted. The Rolling Stones kept their careers. And the man who died became a footnote in rock and roll history. This is the story of Altamont and the young man whose death marked the end of an era. The Rolling Stones were the biggest band in the world in 1969. They had just finished the American tour. Massive crowds, sold out arenas, millions of dollars. And then someone had an idea. Why not throw a free concert like Woodstock? A gift to the fans, a way to end the tour on a high note. Woodstock had happened that summer. 500,000 people gathered on a farm in upstate New York for 3 days of peace, music, and love. It had become a cultural phenomenon, the defining moment of the 60s. The Rolling Stones wanted their own Woodstock, so they planned Altamont. The concert was announced just a few days before it happened. December 6, 1969. Free admission. The Rolling Stones, Santana, Jefferson Airplane, The Grateful Dead, the Flying Burrito Brothers. 300,000 people were expected to show up. And they did. But there was a problem. A big one. They needed security. At Woodstock, the security had been a group called the Hog Farm. Hippies, peaceful. They handed out food and helped people on bad trips. It worked because Woodstock was about peace. But the Rolling Stones did not hire the Hog Farm. They hired the Hells Angels. The Hells Angels were not hippies. They were a motorcycle gang. Violent, territorial, known for fights and intimidation. Why would anyone hire them for security at a concert? The story that has been told for decades is that the Grateful Dead suggested it. The Dead had worked with the San Francisco chapter of the Hells Angel before at smaller shows, and it had been fine. The Angels liked the Dead. They had an understanding. But Altamont was not a small show, and the Rolling Stones did not have a relationship with the Hells Angels. Still, the decision was made. The Hells Angels would provide security. Their payment? $500 worth of beer. That is it. Beer. You're putting 300,000 people in a field with a violent motorcycle gang, and you are paying them in alcohol. And no one stopped to think about what could go wrong. Altamont Speedway was a terrible location for a concert. It was a car racetrack, dusty, no infrastructure, no medical facilities, no planning. The stage was low, just 4 feet off the ground. That meant the crowd could reach the performers. And it meant the Hells Angels, who were stationed right in front of the stage, were at eye level with everyone pushing forward. The Angels were already drinking by the time the gates opened, and the crowd kept growing. 300,000 people crammed into a space that was not designed for them. No bathrooms, no water, no shade. People were on drugs, drinking. The vibe was tense from the start. Jefferson Airplane started their set in the afternoon, and within minutes, there was violence. A man tried to climb onto the stage. A Hell's Angel hit him in the head with a pool cue. The man fell back into the crowd, bleeding. Marty Balin, the lead singer of Jefferson Airplane, tried to intervene. He told the Angels to stop. One of them punched him in the face, knocked him unconscious. On stage, in front of 300,000 people. The Grateful Dead was supposed to play next. They took one look at what was happening and refused to go on. They packed up and left. That should have been the sign. That should have been the moment someone pulled the plug. But the Rolling Stones were already on their way. Meredith Hunter was 18 years old. He was from Berkeley, California. He loved music. He had come to Altamont with his girlfriend, Patty Brella Hoft, to see the Rolling Stones. Meredith was black. That mattered at Altamont because the crowd was overwhelmingly white, and the Hells Angels had a reputation for racism. Patty would later say that they had been harassed all day. People staring, people making comments. The vibe was hostile. But Meredith wanted to see Mick Jagger, so they stayed. By the time the Rolling Stones took the stage, it was dark. The crowd was exhausted, tense, angry. Meredith and Patty were near the front, close to the stage. And that is where everything went wrong. The Rolling Stones opened their set with Jumping Jack Flash. The crowd surged forward. People were pushing, shoving. The Hells Angel was swinging at anyone who got too close to the stage. Mick Jagger kept stopping the music, asking everyone to calm down. Brothers and sisters, why are we fighting? We are all one. But it did not matter. The violence kept escalating. And then the Stones started playing Under My Thumb. Meredith Hunter pulled out a gun. Why he had a gun has been debated for decades. Some say he pulled it in self-defense after being attacked by the Hells Angels. Some say he was trying to protect his girlfriend. Some say he was scared and made a terrible decision. What is not debated is what happened next. A Hells Angel named Alan Pissarro saw the gun. He ran at Meredith, and he stabbed him. Not once, multiple times. Meredith fell to the ground. The crowd scattered. Patty screamed, and Mick Jagger kept singing. He did not know, not at first. The stage was low and the crowd was massive. He could see something was happening, but he did not know someone had just been killed 20 feet away from him. The Maisels brothers were filming the concert for a documentary. They caught the entire thing on camera. The gun, the stabbing, Meredith falling, the chaos. It is one of the most disturbing pieces of footage in rock and roll history. And it was all over in seconds. Meredith Hunter was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. The Rolling Stones finished their set. They played Street Fighting Man. They played Satisfaction. And then they left. By the time the concert ended, 4 people were dead. Meredith Hunter stabbed. 2 others run over by a car in the parking lot. And 1 person drowned in an irrigation ditch. Altamont was a disaster. And everyone knew it. The Maisels brothers released their documentary, Gimme Shelter, in 1970. The footage of Meredith Hunter's death was included. It became evidence in the trial that followed. Alan Pissarro, the Hells Angel who stabbed Meredith, was charged with murder. He went to trial in 1971, and he was acquitted. The jury ruled that he acted in self-defense. Meredith had pulled a gun. Pissarro had responded. Not guilty. Pissarro walked free. He died in 1985 in a motorcycle accident. He never expressed remorse for killing Meredith Hunter. He said he did what he had to do. And that was it. No one else was charged. No one else was held accountable. The Rolling Stones were not sued. They were not prosecuted. They released their next album, Sticky Fingers, in 1971. It was a massive success. Mick Jagger gave a few interviews about Altamont. He said it was a tragedy. He said it was not supposed to happen that way. But he did not stop touring. He did not stop performing. The Rolling Stones kept going, and Meredith Hunter became a statistic. Altamont is often called the end of the 60s. Woodstock represented peace and love. Altamont represented violence and chaos. It showed that the counterculture movement had limits, that you could not just throw hundreds of thousands of people together and expect it to work. That idealism was not enough. But the real tragedy of Altamont is not symbolic. It is Meredith Hunter, an 18-year-old who went to a concert and never came home. His family was devastated. His girlfriend, Patty, was traumatized. She had watched the man she loved get stabbed to death in front of her. And the world moved on. The Rolling Stones kept selling out arenas. The Hells Angels kept writing. The people who made the decision to hire a violent gang as a security faced no consequences. There were lessons that could have been learned from Altamont about safety, about planning, about the responsibility that comes with putting on a massive event. But those lessons were not learned. Not really. Festivals still have inadequate security. Crowds still get out of control. People still die at concerts. And most of the time, no one is held accountable. Here's what matters about Altamont. Meredith Hunter pulled a gun. That is true. But Meredith Hunter was also 18 years old, surrounded by a hostile crowd, and being attacked by members of a violent gang. He made a decision in a moment of fear, and it cost him his life. Alan Passaro stabbed him to death, and he was acquitted. The Rolling Stones hired the Hells Angels, paid them in beer, put them in charge of security for 300,000 people, and faced no consequences. Altamont did not have to happen the way it did. If different decisions had been made, Meredith Hunter might have gone home that night. But he did not. And the people responsible moved on with their lives. If you want more stories about the moments that defined rock and roll and the people who were forgotten in the process, subscribe. Because Meredith Hunter deserved better than to be a footnote in someone else's story.